Welcome again. Let's talk about elderly abuse. It is very common now and is on the rise. An abuser can be a caregiver, a spouse, partner, relative, friend, neighbor, volunteer worker, paid workers, practitioner, solicitor, or any other individual with the intent to deprive a vulnerable person of their resources. Relative includes adult children and their spouses or partners, their offspring and other extended family members, children and living relatives who have a history of substance abuse or have had other life troubles of particular concern. For example, hybrid financial exploitation, abusive individuals who are more likely to be a relative, chronically unemployed and dependent on the elderly person. You understand? And additional past studies have estimated that between 16% to 38% of all elder abusers have a history of mental illness. Elder abuse perpetrated by individuals with mental illnesses can be decreased by lessening the level of dependency that persons with serious mental illness have on family members. This can be done by funneling more resources into housing assistance programs, intensive care management services, and better welfare benefit for individuals with serious mental illness. So the people with mental substance abuse and mental health disorder typically have very small social networks, and this confinement contributes to the overall occurrence of elder abuse because some of them might be children, they might be spouses. Perpetrators of elder abuse can include anyone in a position of trust, control, authority over the individual because they are vulnerable. Family relationships, neighbor and friend are all socially considered relationship of trust, whether or not the older adult actually thinks of these people as trustworthy. So some perpetrators may groom an older person, befriend, or build a relationship with them over time in order to establish a relationship of trust. So all the people living alone who have no adult children living nearby are particularly vulnerable to grooming by neighbors and friends who will hope to gain total and absolute control over their estate. The majority of abusers sometimes are relative, typically the older adult spouse, partner, or sons and daughters. Although the type of abuse differs according to the relationship. So in some situations, the abuse is domestic violence grown old, a situation in which the abusive behavior of a spouse or partner continues into old age. In some situations, an older couple may be attempting to care and support each other and failing in the absence of external support. Then in the case of sons and daughters, it tends to be that of financial abuse, justified by a believer that is nothing more than the advanced inheritance of property, valuables, and of course money. Though corporate abusers such as brokerage firms and bank trust companies have been considered too regulated to be able to abuse the elderly, cases of such abuses have been reported. So such corporate abuse might escape notice both because they have more aptitude and at method of abuse that can go undetected, and because they are protected by attorneys and the government in ways that individuals are not. What about within the paid care environment? Abuse can occur for a variety of reasons. Some abuse is willful act of cruelty inflicted by a single individual upon an older person. In fact, there was a study that suggests that the high elder abuse statistics are from repeat offenders who, like in other forms of abuse, practice elder abuse for their own benefit. So, more commonly, institutional abuses or neglect may reflect lack of knowledge, lack of training, lack of support, or insufficient resourcing. Institutional abuse may be the consequences of common practices or processes that are part of running a care institution or even a service. So sometimes this type of abuse is referred to as poor practice, although this time reflects the motive of the perpetrator, the causation rather than the impact upon the older person. Elder abuse is not a direct parallel to child maltreatment. They are the same thing, as perpetrators of elders abuse do not have the same legal protection of rights as parents of children do. For example, a court order is needed to remove a child from their home, but not to remove a victim of elder abuse from theirs. So see you in the next video.